Gosh, so people that travel. So okay, so let's just say people in the United States, and there's restricted traveling. There was some data published not a few years ago from a scientist in Tempe, Arizona. So Tempe, Arizona is pretty close to where I am right now, like maybe 10 to 20 miles away, depending on the exact spot. And I believe Dr. Din's data was saying something around 13 to 15% of the samples he was testing were positive for parasites. I could tell you that when people go to certain countries like Guam or, trying to think of China, and they come back with some GI issues, when we test them, we'll find like maybe two people in the family have a parasite like Blastocystis hominis, and then another two people in the family have nothing at all, even though they all eat the same places together. So some of us have an immune system that's a little bit more robust and appears to fight these parasites, and some of us don't. There's certainly things like Giardia, that if someone has it, you know it immediately because you can't stop running to the bathroom. You have very loose, watery stools. And then there are other parasites like Blastocystis that old school medical books would tell you they're benign and that they're harmless and don't require treatment. So doctors today that read an older medical book, they're going to look up and says, don't do anything. However, if the same doctor were to take some time and go on to PubMed or some other medical database and look at more contemporary research, they would see that Blastocystis hominis has been linked to arthritic pain. It's been linked to all kinds of skin disorders. It's been linked to headaches. So the point being is that it appears that some of these organisms, they do not affect us instantly, so we don't feel anything right away. But over time, they're producing chemicals that affect our health, and it comes on so gradually. There's no way to connect the infection time or period with the organism with the symptoms that may be experienced years later, and in some estimates, it may be decades later. Like imagine if you just had a very slow redness on your skin. You might not think a big deal because it doesn't hurt, it's not warm, doesn't look that weird. But over time, the skin starts peeling, and next thing you know, you have something more severe like a skin discoloration, or the skin is just falling off, flaking and dry all the time. By the time you do something about it, like see a doctor, like a dermatologist or something, it could be 10 years later. So that organism had ample time to produce chemicals to affect your body at a systemic level. And so typically the dermatologist would look at your skin directly because that's what they're supposed to do. That's their expertise, is looking at the skin. Their expertise is not looking at, what's in the digestive tract. But most people wouldn't think to go see a gastroenterologist because it's a skin problem, right? It's not a GI problem. And so the gastroenterologist would be the expert to look at the digestive tract. And so my point being, there's this concept called physiological crosstalk and chemical mimicry. And what these contemporary concepts teach us is that the old way of having specialists look at things, it doesn't take into account that the body is one organism, and there may be cracks or gaps between the medical disciplines that people fall in where no single specialist is really going to be the right professional to help them. They almost need someone that's more of a generalist that understands how the different systems interact.